Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to add a delay between the waves. I want to be able to declare this enemy wave to start at this amount of time, and this wave to start at this amount of time, and maybe even within each wave, I might want to delay this spawn a couple seconds before or after this spawn, and we want to set up that in, or we want to set that up next. So the first thing is I did a little bit of experimenting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the sometimes not spawning thing. I think it has to do with the extents, and maybe it's a little too close to the floor. I'm not really sure. For me, I'm just going to worry about that functionality later. Inside of spawn point, I'm just going to get rid of that right here. So delete get scaled box extent, delete random point and bounding box, and we're just going to use the spawn point get world location, and I think that'll be easy and consistent and still get it to work. So you can build that up later if you want. So compile, save, just spawn the enemy wherever the spawn point is, which means that technically the spawn volume doesn't mean anything right now, but it's helpful for seeing it in the scene. So I'll just leave it. Save. All right. Okay, so what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to wait before starting the spawn. And to do that, you just need to add a delay node. So I already know that this is working, so I'm just gonna delete that. Spawn enemy. So whenever, actually, let's do this with the waves first. I think it'll make more sense. I'll just reconnect that there. File, save. Wave spawner, do once. Okay, so for each of our waves, I want to just determine. So I do want my initial wave trigger to just say, hey, all the waves, just do what you got to do. And so I think this is fine. So start spawning wave. For each of the waves, I want to be able to assign a delay before that wave will activate. So I went inside of my BP underscore enemy wave. So again, we could have multiple enemy waves. But for each one, I want to add a delay. So pull off of print string, type in delay. I want to wait a set number of seconds before this wave will start. Now, I don't want to hard code the seconds in here because I want to give that functionality to the level designer, and maybe each wave could be a different amount. So I'm going to expose that into a variable. You could make it over here. I actually like doing it that way. But if you want another option, you could right-click this little hookup and say whatever's going into here, you can promote this to a variable right there. And that'll automatically just create the variable for you of the type that it needs right here. So again, it's the same, it's just a different way of creating the variable over here. So make sure this is of type float, which it is, single, okay, good. Let's change the variable name to time until wave start, after activating. We do want to make this instance editable right there. Or you could click the little eyeball over there. It's the same thing as saying serialized field if you're coming from Unity. It just says this is viewable within the details panel. All right, so as soon as we start, we can actually get rid of this now too. And make sure you connect this. As soon as we start spawning the wave, wait if this wave isn't supposed to activate yet until it is ready. So delay by this amount, time until wave start. And then go through the spawn points and spawn the enemy. Compile, save. All right, so this will wait a designated amount of time, which if I compile, save that, come over here, click on enemy wave, and you'll see we can actually designate this. So I'm going to say, I want this wave to start instantly, so 0 seconds. And I want this wave to start after 5 seconds. Yeah, that's good. 5 seconds. And I changed my mind. I actually do want to print this so that we can prove that this is working, but start spawning wave. So right before we delay, actually, let's say right after we delay, I'm going to say print start spawn. Let's call this start wave. All right, great. So delay for each wave, if we've designated a time to wait, we'll delay, and then once you're ready for each, spawn the enemies, save. So if we test this now, since we already set this, this is going to wait for 5 seconds, and this one's going to wait for 0 seconds. So if I hit play, start wave, this one should, after a couple more seconds, there we go. Okay, so now we could actually set our waves up. We could have multiple waves that don't trigger until a designated amount of time. So that's great. But maybe we want the functionality for each of the spawn points within a particular wave to be slightly offset. Like it's all part of the same wave, but there's a little bit of breathing room within groupings of enemies. We want to be able to set that on the spawn point. So I'm going to do the same thing. Again, it's just practice. Same thing, go to your spawn point, and the same way in which we just did it, we're going to drag off of here, delay, okay. All right, and just to show you that it's different, I'm gonna make the variable this way and plug it into there. So you could right click promote to variable, or you could come over here in variables, click, new variable. And then let me see, name that, what do I want to name that? Delay before spawn. We want to click the eyeball. We do want this to be instance editable. Make sure you change the variable type to type float. Again, it needs to match this over here. It is instance editable. Drag this in. Get delay before spawn. You can see that there is actually a few more steps here other than just right click promote to variable. But I like the process. I need to think about what I need and create it. Okay, connect this up right here. So spawn enemy, wait for the designated amount of time, and pass this into the details panel. And then once you wait this amount of time, spawn AI from class. And we'll add a little print statement here off of delay. String spawn enemy. All right, then actually spawn the enemy and do the other stuff. So, and if we want to group this even better, you know, we could do something like this, or we could select all this and hit C, and that'll put a box around everything. So now if we drag this box around, we could say, what is this? This is, and I just double click there. This is the spawn enemy. All right, spawn enemy, delay, wait. Okay, print, and this is just a way that you can start organizing groupings of blueprints. Compile, save. So now if we hit 0 for no delay, then it'll just pass through and spawn the enemy. But if we say 1, we'll delay 1 second and then spawn the enemy. So if I close all this out, I think this should be it. Let's test this out by doing 0, and this one will do 1 second delay before spawn. This one will do 0. This one will do 2 seconds. And as long as we set up our wave, this is a pretty robust system now. Like we can make a third wave if we want, define different enemy AIs to spawn, different delays, save that. All right, when we enter this trigger, 1, 2 delays. This one's a 5-second delay, right? And then delay off those spawns. Okay, so, and you could build off of that. You know, you could have multiple waves here. You could have technically multiple wave spawns. Again, you could check to see if the player enters this volume. If you want to get fancy, you could do more stuff. Like you could add countdowns until the next wave, like whatever. But this is the functionality for building our wave spawning system. And the cool thing is, because it all exists in blueprints, as long as we hook up everything properly, right? Like we actually hook up the waves and we hook up the spawn points, we should be able to configure this however we want. So yeah, just keep experimenting with that.